Silent Separation by Guman, Chapter 8.1 If You Leave. Cannot translate. Mosheng stared at the English word on the paper. Such injustice. All these years spent abroad was a complete waste. Asked Yichen. She looked up to see that he seemed very busy, so better not disturb him. Suddenly the phone rang, breaking the silence in the office. With his right hand flipping through the documents, Yichen picked up the phone with his left hand. Hello? I am at the office. No, as it turns out, I have something to do today. What did the other party say as Yichen started to laugh? Lao Jun, when did you also become a matchmaker? Lao Jun started to complain. I am forced by my wife. When she came to the court last time, she just so happened to see you. Since then, she has intention to introduce her niece to you. My wife does not have any hobby except she likes to matchmake. However, honestly speaking, Xiaohe, it is not that I want to advocate for my own family member, but my wife's niece is quite good. Education, appearance, and personality are all on par with yours. Why don't you consider it? Yichen smiled. Lao Jun, do you want me to engage in an external marital affair? What external marital affair? Lao Jun reacted belatedly. Are you saying you are married? After shouting it out, he immediately refuted himself. Don't joke. It is possible for anyone, but impossible for Yichen to get married. What did he say? Yichen could not help but laugh. After hanging up the phone, Yichen looked at Mosheng, who was engrossed in her work, biting the tip of the pen again, incurable bad habit. Previously, when she could not solve a calculus problem, she also acted like this. After biting the tip of the pen for a while, she pushed the assignment to him and looked at him with eyes full of flattery. Yichen, pity him who was majoring in law but was better in studying calculus than the science and engineering student. Yichen, Mosheng really could not translate anymore, so she looked up to appeal for help. He sat down beside her and out of habit took the documents in her hand. Which one? Here, how to translate this one. Mobile sequita persona. Cento follows the person. Very professional term in Latin language, so it was natural for her not to know it. His breathing was very near and lingering around her face. Suddenly, Mosheng remembered when they studied together outside of class time in the past. Yichen would always very solemnly said, Mosheng, don't sit next to me. Why? She specifically followed him here to study outside of class. You will distract me. A little sad, but straight away she raised her hand to pledge. I swear not to talk to you, not to go out to buy snack, and not to move around. As a result, before she even finished talking, Yichen spoke with a defeated look. No matter how quiet you are, you will still distract me. What's going on? At that time, she was so angry, she took her books and stormed off panting with rage. However, she seemed to understand a little bit more of his words now. This was because he also did not do anything but just stood behind her and stomped. His refreshing and cool breath of manliness surrounded her, and her hair gently brushed against his coat. If she raised her head, it would touch his chin. For some reason, her face was growing warmer. She was very disturbed by his presence. Before she realized what she was doing, she had already stood up and jumped aside. The top of her head maliciously hit someone's chin. What are you doing? Yichen was startled by her and stroked his chin, which was in pain. She obviously could not tell him the truth, so her face flushed redder and redder. I want to go eat. She felt silly after speaking that. What kind of excuse? Glancing at the clock on the wall, it was not even 10:30 yet. Right now? Yichen frowned. Yes, because I did not eat much this morning. She summoned up the courage to explain. He glanced at the mountain of work on his desk, but seemingly the hungry Mosheng looking a bit weird before him, Yichen finally surrendered. He knew it. Letting her come along to the law firm was definitely a big mistake. KFC on a Saturday was crowded and lively. Mushan did not think Yichen would actually bring her here. She pulled his sleeve. Yichen, did you go to the wrong place? No. In the past, did you not say only kids like this place? In the past, you also liked this place. Yichen's face flushed in anger as if she was ungrateful. Then I'll look for somewhere to sit. Mushan quickly picked the easiest task. Sitting near the window on the second floor after biting the burger 2 times, Mushan could not eat anymore till she drank her coke and chatted a few words with Yichen. After talking, their topic of conversation turned to her current translation project. Yichen raised his eyebrows. Since when did you become so interested in law? Oh, it's always good to know a little bit of law. There's no need, Yichen smiled faintly. You can continue to be ignorant of law as long as it's not about you wanting a divorce. I can help you. Huh? Mushan frowned. Was he joking? Xiao, how come you would also come here? The surprised voice of a woman sounded behind Mushan. She turned her head and saw a 30-something-year-old woman leaning an adorable pair of twins towards them. Uncle He, the twin yelled out at the same time. One of them said tragically, Uncle He, your girlfriend is very pretty. Fanjun Yichen stood up to say hello. This seemingly intelligent and capable woman was the district prosecutor. She was the prosecutor in one of the cases Yichen was currently handling. Banju patted her son's head. Don't be rude. Then she smiled at Yichen and said, Loi He shouldn't be so shabby since you're making so much money. Why treat people to eat this kind of Western fast food? Yichen smiled, but someone liked to eat this. Mushan thought to herself that this someone could not be her. Back in the university days, it was true that she liked this, but having stayed in a foreign country for so long, if she still liked them, then there must be a problem with her taste. So has the great lawyer finally fallen? Being smart and working in a profession which require observing people's words and gesture for clue as to their thoughts, Banju can immediately guess something was going on from Yichen's few words. She sized up Mushan and concluded that to Yichen, this woman who looked like a student was distinctive. No, Yichen quickly changed the topic. I heard you would be promoted, so let me congratulate you. It's not confirmed yet. Although Fanjun was delighted, she still acted modestly. She hesitated for a moment before saying, Xiao, when I saw you last time, I wanted to ask this, but a phone call interrupted and I forgot. I heard you accepted Wan Dungan's case. No, only his relative came for a consultation. Wan Dungan was the deputy mayor of a certain prefecture-level city. He was allegedly involved in embezzling billions of dollars. Recently, many newspapers already report about this. Mushan was working in the industry, so naturally she knew. But these news always made her recall some unhappy past events, so she did not pay close attention to them. Fanjun smiled as if reassured. If you accept the case, I'll be a bit worried. However, I told my colleagues that you usually never accept these kind of corruption case. Fanjun exclaimed. If all lawyers can be like you, how is it possible that some criminals can get away unpunished? Fanjun, you flatter me. Criminals always have a right to a defense. I didn't accept this case because of a personal reason. Personal reason? Mushan's hand stirring the ice cube slowed down. She looked despondently at Yichen's indifferent expression. Fanjun said with a smile, Anyway, as long as you don't accept this case, I feel relief. I have to go now. Kids, say goodbye to Uncle. Uncle and sister, goodbye, the twins said at the same time. What uncle and sister don't simply call. Fanjun knocked on the head of the twins, then she took their hands and led them away. The moment they left, the lively atmosphere that existed earlier immediately cooled down. Mushan's thoughts still revolved around Yichen's personal reason. She could not help but think of her family's situation. Yichen? Mushan lowered her head and used a straw to poke at the floating ice cube in her coke. My dad's matter, do you mind? There was silence from Yichen. Mushan breathlessly continued. Actually, my dad was a very good person. What happened? That has nothing to do with me. She had to summon a lot of courage before starting to talk about it, yet Yichen coldly interrupted her. The straw in Mushan's hand did not manage to poke the ice cube, but poked the cup instead. The cup overturned and spilled the coke all over the table. A few drops splashed onto Mushan's white sweater. After a few seconds of confusion, Mushan quickly reached for the napkin and wiped the spills on the table. While she was earnestly and carefully wiping, her hands were trembling slightly. What did he say? Yichen closed his eyes in wonder. The second time again, he lost his self-control. After regaining his composure, Yichen leaned over. He took the napkin in Mushan's hand. Let me. When Mushan regained her concentration, the napkin had changed hand. Yichen lowered his head to carefully and attentively wipe the stain on Mushan's sweater. His slender fingers were steady and strong. Through the gap in her hair, she saw his determined eyebrows. Yichen was so close, so close. Then what was so far away? I'm not going to the law firm in the afternoon, Mushan said quietly. Yichen stopped wiping and looked up at her. It was difficult to know what kind of emotion was hidden in her deep black eyes. I'm going shopping because I need to buy something, Mushan said in a soft voice. Anyway, I can't help you much. Actually, she did not need to buy anything. Walking aimlessly in the crowded street, Mushan felt a bit downed. Perhaps choosing to stroll down the street was a big mistake. In such a lively atmosphere, it would only make lonely people feel even more lonely. This 1 month passed by like a dream. The two of them were literally strangers, unexpectedly stuck together in an intimate marital relationship. Completely unprepared, they skipped the process of taking the time to get to know each other again. But they could not escape the unfamiliarity and the entanglement in their heart created by the many years of separation. Her father, her previous marriage, the problem appeared to have stemmed from her. Mushan smiled bitterly. She visited several stores and tried on 2 sweaters. Looking at the person in the full-length mirror, she still felt something was inappropriate, probably because of the turmoil in her heart. She finally remembered that she had to cut her hair. It is easiest to find a hairdresser shop in the city. As soon as she walked out of the clothing store, she looked up and saw a hairdresser shop right away. Artistic hairdresser. Mushan tried to recall such a familiar name from her memory. She finally remembered Xiaohen had strongly recommended this shop. Xiaohen's taste has always been questionable, but there were many people waiting in the shop, and it was unlikely that everyone had the same standard like Xiaohen. She opened the door and sat down to wait. It was more than an hour before it was her turn. Miss, how do you want your hairs cut? The stylist asked. A little bit shorter is fine. Just like this? Yes. Great. Mr. Hairstylist laughed strangely. I like the freedom to express my style. The last sentence sounded like he was talking to himself. Mushan did not care much until more than an hour later. Mushan stared at the person in the mirror. How could it be? Why she looked like this? The hair was jagged like an animal just ground on it. Do you think it does not look good? He glared aggressively at her. On one hand, he held a pair of gleaming scissors. On the other hand, he held a blow dryer that made whimly noises. It's not like that. Mushan was intimidated by his aggression. Actually, upon closer inspection, it's pretty good. Really? He looked suspiciously at Mushan's sincere face. Good in what way? What way? Could combing or not combing the hair look the same be considered good? That? Very artistic. That is very, very artistic. Remembering the shop name, Mushan nodded with certainty. Really? This time, he used a different tone to ask really. Mr. Hairstylist looked proud like a peacock. He waved his large hand. His occupational weapon looked like a beautiful arch in the air. Don't need money for your head. No need money for her head. Why, this sounds so bloody. Mushan carefully checked again. Are you saying I don't have to pay for my haircut? Yes, it's free. Why? Mushan was surprised. If Mr. Hairstylist did not appear so arrogant, Mushan would have thought that he did not dare accept money because he ruined her hair. The hairstylist shook his head, looking forlorn as if misunderstood. Don't you know that art is priceless? Therefore, my shop will only charge for bad haircut because that's considered a failure, not a work of art. Such an artistic logic because people who listened could not fully understand. Mushan quickly escaped from the shop before being successfully brainwashed by the hairstylist. She consciously walked on the side of the road. Along the way, she could not help but frequently look at the display window of the shops. At the same time, the people in the shops also looked at her hideous and messy hair and sad face. Looking at her reflection on the display window, the more she looked, the more ridiculous she felt. 'Tis she could not help but laugh out loud. People walking by looked at her strangely because it was difficult to imagine someone being so happy with such an awful haircut. Miss, do you want to go inside the store to take a look? The salesperson called out the warm greeting. Mushan only realized that she had stood and stared at the mannequin before the display window for a long time. When she was in daze, she liked to stand still and stare at things for a long time. In the past, Yichen was often creeped out by her staring at him. Okay, Mushan walked shyly into the store as the salesperson smiled graciously. It was a store well known for selling men's clothing. Mushan planned to merely look casually around the store, but abruptly she stopped in front of a windbreaker. A very simple styled in Yichen's favorite color. Her hands involuntarily touched the collar, and she imagined Yichen would look very good wearing it. Miss, are you buying clothes for your boyfriend? This is the latest style for this year. Currently, there's a discount of 20%, so it only costs 3,200 yuan. Mushan was stunned because it was too expensive. That was almost her salary in 1 month. Moreover, she did not have so much money on her. She looked at the salesperson and shook her head in apology. The salesperson smiled kindly. When she walked to the doorway of the store, she felt reluctant to leave. That windbreaker really suits him. Suddenly, Mushan remembered the card Yichen gave her. She quickly walked back inside. Do you accept cards? The sound of the flipping paper stopped. Miss, please sign here. She picked up the pen and almost wrote her name out of habit. Luckily, she remembered on time this was Yichen's card, so she should sign He Yichen. He Yichen, a name she had written countless of times. One time she was mad at Yichen for what reason. She could not remember it anymore. She just remembered she went to the self-study class by herself. She had planned to solve the complicated math problem. She was obviously working on her math, but when she looked at the paper, it was filled with He Yichen's name. Suddenly, she heard Yichen's voice from behind her. Mushan, you wrote it wrongly. He looked at her with laughter in his eyes. How could that be? Although Mushan should feel ashamed for being caught red-handed, she defended herself by picking up the pen and carefully writing it again for him to see. He Yichen, where was the mistake? The mistake is in the order of the stroke. This stroke is in the letter He should be written on the inside first, and the vertical hook is last. Write it again. Mushan must have been affected by his seriousness because she really picked up the pen and earnestly prepared to write it again. After she finished writing the word he, she only realized something was amiss. He Yichen, why am I writing your name? Mushan handed the signed bill back to the salesperson. The salesperson smiled and gave her the bag. Please come again. Memories of the past made Mushan's recently improved mood begin to depress again. When she was outside the store, Mushan stood still in daze. The happy days of the past were gone, only the sad reality remained. When can they go back to the happiness of the past? When can the ups and downs in the relationship cease?